Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to this SBR webinar support for June 2025 exams. My name is Isabel. I work as Education Community Manager at ACCA. Our session today, SBR Advancing Beyond FR, is designed to help you learn how to apply your FR knowledge whilst doing exam preparation for the SBR paper. Milind Date has joined us today to deliver this session, and during the session, Milind will share practical guidance on how to step up from the financial reporting exam. He's going to provide insights into the nature of tasks, their structure, and the correct usage of tools while answering SBR questions. He's also going to showcase a few examples to help you write answers that will earn marks needed to showcase how to present exam answers effectively for higher marks through some examples. We will also try to pick up a few questions live towards the end of the session. But before I hand over to Milind, I'd just like to cover a few quick housekeeping items first. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a number of buttons that you can use. There is a help icon that provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues you might experience. There are also icons for both slides and the media player. Keep those open during the webinar. And you'll also see a attendee chat function button so you can engage with fellow webinar attendees, which I've seen some of you have been doing already. It's always lovely to see you say hello and let us know where you are in the world. But just bear in mind that is a public chat, so do not share any personal details. You've also got the resource list. That's the one that looks a bit like a file symbol. If you click on that, you'll be able to access resources relevant to today's webinar, including direct links. Now you can rearrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if you need to. If at any point you can't hear what is being said or you can't see any visuals, please refresh your browser. That usually resolves the problem. Registering for this webinar means that you'll be sent an email tomorrow with details of how you can watch it again. So don't worry if you missed something or you had technical issues, you will be able to go back and watch this in your own time. Now, I will be back with you towards the end of the session, but just a note, if you'd like to ask ACCA a question, then please post them using the Q&A button. Please note we do get a high volume of queries and we can't guarantee responding to everyone directly, either verbally or via the web chat, but we do hope that the questions we share will be helpful to everyone. Now that's all from me. I'll be back at the end, but for now I'm handing you over to Milind. Thank you, Milind.
Thank you very much, Isabel, for setting the tone for this SBR webinar session. I would just like to add one thing to what Isabel has already said, and that is for the participants who might be from all over the world. And that my first greeting to you is good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you are logging in from. So the point that I was going to start with is, please remember, this is not a teaching webinar, but this is making you aware of certain things, of how you could face the SBR examination with the underpinned FR knowledge. And before I start, let me just get a confirmation that I'm audible to everyone. So once you say I'm audible, I'll be able to start the session today. So what is going to be the focus of the day? Of course, it is going to be focusing on how you people could step up from FR to SBR. A little bit about myself. I am a postgraduate in commerce from India. I have done my FCMA, and I also did my diploma in IFRS from ACCA. And I'm associated with ACCA for over 13 years as an expert tutor across different levels of ACCA qualification examinations. But what we are going to do today is obviously to look at how you are going to use your underpinned FR knowledge the right way, so that you will be able to take SBR examination with confidence. I mean, I'm sure it could look like a big jump when you compare the FR and SBR. But if you have a right kind of a mindset and you prepare well, I'm sure SBR is easily manageable. But before we start, let me just tell you what the agenda is. To begin with, I'll have a couple of poll questions for you, because I know there are more than 350 odd participants, and you're coming from different parts of the world with different backgrounds. You might be at different stages of the ACCA qualification. And my poll questions are addressed to let me be aware about where are you at the moment. And then the main body of this webinar, that's the tips for stepping up from your FR to SBR with the help of certain illustrations. And then towards the end, I'll definitely try and address as many questions as possible. So let's begin with the first poll question. Did you take and pass your FR exam? There are two possible answers. One is yes, I cleared FR recently. Second, no, I didn't, but I was exempt from the FR examination. Please vote immediately. We will be having about 20 seconds for you to respond. It's a simple question. So, yep, please go ahead as fast as possible. Don't try to put your answers in Q&A. Try to, click the poll button. Yeah, 62% of the attendees have answered. I'll just wait for maybe 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go for the answer. So, yes, recently clearing FR, nearly 60% of you have, and nearly 40% of you have got exemption from FR. Now, this means for those who have cleared FR recently, their technical knowledge about the IFRSs will be fresh in mind. Well, it's a double-edged sword. One, you have the knowledge, but then you will have to use it appropriately while you step up from FR to SBR. And remaining who are exempt, 40%, they will have to revise the FR underpinned knowledge quite well in the coming weeks to be able to confidently take SBR examination. Poll number 2, here it is. Have you taken SBR examination before? So how many of you are going to take SBR for the first time? Or maybe some of you had taken it earlier but couldn't pass. So please vote for this question as well. And I'll wait for about 20 seconds for you to respond. Yes, about 61% of the attendees have responded, 66 now. So I'll give 5 seconds more for you to complete it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go for the poll answers. Oh, wow. 73% will be taking SBR examination for the first time. And I think, therefore, this webinar will be of immense help to you. And 26% would try to, reflect upon what they did not do last time and what they need to therefore do to be successful at the upcoming examination. So based on this poll, I'll be able to, navigate my presentation to address the attendees accordingly. Thank you very much for voting. As I said, it looks like a big jump when you try to step up from FR to SBR. But let's have a clear-cut mindset for you to get to know what's the difference between FR and SBR. And these points of differences will help you prepare yourself very well in the upcoming weeks. So if you look at the examiner's focus, in FR, obviously, the foundation is no doubt IFRS, but FR would test the technical application of IFRS. It didn't require you to exercise your professional judgment, or it didn't, ask you about ethical implications, which will be the focus area for SBR. So only possessing and reproducing technical knowledge about IFRSs may not ensure a pass for you in the SBR. You need to apply your professional judgment and even the ethical implications. And we'll see how do you do that subsequently. So the questioning style is also drastically different. FR questions would be more structured, more close-ended. Many of them would be calculation-based, numerical questions. However, SBR may have complex scenario-based questions, which will have a lot of discursive element. And the questions will be more often than not open-ended, requiring you to apply your professional judgment to what is asked to you. Ethics is one of the very, very critical area, and there's going to be definitely one question in the section A of the examination based on ethics and professional skills. In FR, while it was very, very rarely included, about 20% of the total marks, you will see ethics question would be there set in the SBR examination. So this is one area which you should not ignore at all. And let me tell you very frankly, it looks easier than done. If you repeat theory about ethics in your answers, it's not going to help you. And I'll take you through some part of it later in this presentation. Exam technique, again, in FR, you would have the answer as either right or wrong, except for the interpretation question. And that was sufficient. Is your accounting treatment, is your presentation right or wrong? But SBR will require you not only to state your answer, but at times will require you to justify or evaluate alternative accounting and reporting treatments that are permitted or even sometimes mandated in IFRSs. So merely stating the facts is not going to give you enough credit. And I will illustrate this to you with help of one of the exam questions later on. Well, FR questions would always generally be based on individual IFRSs. So one OTQ will not be based on more than one IFRS. But a complex scenario in SBR would require you maybe to apply multiple IFRSs together. For example, IFRS 3 and IFRS 10, both of which are related to group accounts. One talks about business combination and the other talks about consolidated financial statements. So in one question, you may be tested on whether the given event or a transaction amounts to business combination or not. If yes, whether it is a parent-subsidiary relationship or it is a parent-associate relationship, you will need to apply IFRS 3. And in case of presentation of consolidated financial statements, you may have to draw principles from IFRS 10 and apply them. So if you carefully look at these differences on these 5 or 6 points, you will appreciate how differently you need to approach your preparations for SBR examination. And dear students, it's not going to be sufficient for you to only understand these differences, but you will have to prepare yourself on each of these when you are trying to take the examination. So this will be required help of ACC resources. With this as a basis, let's move forward to understand what FR and SBR focus is. In FR, you are expected just to know what the standards say, how to and when to recognize, how to measure, where to present. That's enough. But in SBR, you will need to show the application, not only telling the examiner what the standard says, but why. Many times, SBR question may require you to critique the standard itself. And the context that you will have to put your answer in would be a real world kind of a scenario. The context could be ethical and also strategic, in the sense, you will have to use a stakeholder approach rather than only preparer approach. So stakeholder approach is going to be very crucial for you when you talk about the questions like ethics, questions like sustainability, questions like group accounts. Multiple stakeholders may be interested in a transaction in different perspectives. Evaluation of reporting decisions and their implications for these different stakeholders is going to be crucial for you when you're answering the question. So please remember that very well. Look, there are standards which you have already studied, those who have taken FR, but especially for those, some of you who may not have taken FR examination but have got exempted, or some of you might have passed FR examination long before. You will have to revise your knowledge on certain standards which are going to be really crucial, like IFRS 15, revenue, 16, leases, IFRS 9 for financial instruments, 10 to 12 for group accounts, IAS 8 for the accounting policies, etc., 36, 37 for impairment of assets and provisions. The knowledge will be assumed by SBR examination. It's not going to be retaught to you. It expects you to know them and apply them using your judgment. For example, whether an item like lease is given to you, you will have to talk about whether a lease accounting standard will apply, depending on whether it's a low value lease transaction or a very short-term lease transaction or not. How do you account for it under given circumstances? Remember, one very good thing is for leases, sublease is included in SBR examination, which was not there in FR. So reading syllabus very carefully is definitely going to help you when you are going to ensure that you cover all parts of the syllabus. And then there are certain new standards which you might not have been exposed to when you took your FR examination. It's like first time adoption, IFRS 1, IFRS 2, the share-based payments, IFRS 8, operating segments, IFRS for SMEs, which was not there, and IFRS S2, climate-related disclosure, which could be there in section B, question 4 or question 3 of the examination. Integrated reporting, management commentary and materiality. You know, in earlier previous SBR syllabus, there used to be a topic called as current issues, which is no longer going to be there. But there will be questions on the things that have evolved newly, like IFRS S2, the integrated reporting, management commentary, and the materiality judgment. So certainly you will have to learn these new standards and different parts of the syllabus newly, ensuring that you acquire every bit of knowledge in that. But at the same time, only acquiring knowledge is not going to be sufficient. You need to practice the discursive element of the questions, and that carries a lot of importance. So don't just acquire the knowledge, make sure that you practice a lot of questions from various ACCA resources like Study Hub, Practice Platform, etc., or whichever textbooks and revision kits, exam kits you may be using. So these are the standards which you need to really put your focus on when you're trying to step up from FR to SBR. Ethics. Now, as I said, only knowing ethics, ethical principles, the consequences of unethical behavior, the safeguards against unethical behavior, it is not going to help you. Because the exam question will be based on a scenario where you need to, spot the specific ethical issue. Examiner may ask you, hey, please identify what ethical issues this organization is facing within the context of the given scenario. So if you state all the 5 principles of ethics, like objectivity, integrity, confidentiality, etc., that is not going to score you marks. In the given context, which of the principle do you think is getting contravened? That is where you are likely to get or lose marks. So you need to be proficient when you are applying these principles or identifying threats, whether it's a threat like coming from self-review or self-interest or advocacy, etc. So there are threats to ethical behavior which you will need to identify. And let me tell you one thing: the scenario will certainly, be guiding you towards that. It is only you have to pick up the correct aspects of it and then put your professional judgment, show your competence to answer the requirement. For question on ethics, please remember there will be always 2 professional marks. And if you look at past 4 or 5 different exam diets, these professional marks are actually going to be there for, number 1, identifying the relevant ethical principles and applying them. So examiner does guide you. Now, if you mention 5 ethical principles, even if all 5 are not going to be relevant, examiner is not going to give you marks for that. Relevant ethical principle. So maybe in one scenario, only integrity or only objectivity part is getting affected. You need to identify that correctly and put your analysis around that. And then when I say applying it, tell the examiner how that part of the principle has been affected within the context given. If you don't relate your answer to the given scenario, you're not going to get any marks for your theory. Now, to guide you, Of course, if you can make use of EPSM Unit 9, nothing like it, because you will get to know how to apply these different ethical principles and set it within the given context. So my strong advice to you, if you have not already done, please ensure that you look at the EPSM Unit 9 especially, because it gives a direct connect between the EPSM on one hand with SBR as such. Structuring of the questions. SBR, as I said earlier, is very, very heavy on discursive elements. So if you just remember what is stated in the IFRSs, that approach is not going to help. Recognition, measurement, presentation, disclosure, that may not be sufficient for you, because you need to explain a treatment, accounting and reporting, justify them, why. State goodwill could be calculated like this. A goodwill should have been calculated like this because, and then give, okay, this is what the consideration is. This is what the fair value of net assets, fair value of NCI, and then provide the calculations in support of your answer. Many IFRSs provide alternative accounting treatments, but there is a logic to that. Take, for example, in case of IFRS 9, the financial instruments, you need to articulate answer for stating whether the given financial asset or financial liability would be measured at fair value through profit or loss, fair value through OCI, how the cash flows related to the financial asset or liability looking like. So that is how you need to evaluate based on the context scenario given, and then you will need to structure your answer. Only stating the IFRS content, like, okay, IFRS permits financial assets to be measured at 1, 2, 3, that's not going to score you marks. So please remember this technique of answering. And this is going to be there for all the IFRSs. Take, for example, IFRS 15, revenue from contracts with the customers. Many times, a justification will be required as to why, the revenue could be linked to performance obligation, whether it is getting completed at a point in time or over a period of time. Identifying performance obligation is very, very crucial. So please do not focus only on stating IFRS content. You may not remember the IFRS number. You're not going to get marks for that, mentioning that. Neither you're going to lose marks for not mentioning it. So you forget about it, because your memory is not going tested. What is going to be tested is your knowledge, its application, and your professional competence of articulating a certain task. So that's very crucial for you. Now, based on this background, let me illustrate to you with a couple of recent examination questions what I mean when I said you will need to apply. And there are certain tips which may look pretty innocuous to you, but it's very important for you to make use of them while writing your SBR examination. One question will definitely be based on a pre-populated spreadsheet, section A, question 1. It could be a pre-populated spreadsheet, either giving you the statement of financial position, statement of profit or loss, or statement of cash flows, or in a extract form, or maybe in a very, very narrated form. This question could be for 10 to 14 marks. And many times what is happening is, based on, of course, the examiner's report, I am saying this, the students are not able to answer this question appropriately, and there are good chances of you losing marks. I'll illustrate to you where all you could lose marks on spreadsheets and what technique you should apply when you are answering this. Of course, I'm definitely going to say SBR examiner is going to assume you know how a balance sheet is prepared, how a profit or loss looks like, what are the contents of cash flows, etc. One question is definitely going to be on ethical assessment of a scenario. 10 to 12 marks, including, of course, 2 professional skills marks. And as I said earlier, these professional marks will be for identifying correct ethical principle, correct actions to safeguard against unethical behavior. And there will be 2 more professional marks available for you in section B, typically question 4 generally. And these marks, examiner indicates where are you going to get these marks. They are for clarity, they are for quality of discussion. So if you're asked to discuss the way in which a particular aspect is getting tested, for example, how the sustainability reporting could be done for a given organization, your ability to clearly state, depending on the nature of the business that the company is doing, depending on the industry and the norms of the industry, which may require you to possess some commercial acumen, you will be able to get those 2 crucial professional marks. Very, very crucial. And don't just say, hey, it's only 2 marks, why should I worry more? But that could be, remember, a difference between a 48 and a 50. That's where you could lose out in clearing your SBR examination. Don't do that. So if you remember this, that one question definitely on pre-populated spreadsheet, one on ethics, you're nearly taking care of 25-30% of the total marks available to you. And then, of course, one question is always asked by the students, which are the important syllabus areas? There's nothing like one is important over the other. Never. ACCA has always maintained the fact that students will have to learn the entire syllabus content. So don't miss out on learning everything. Don't miss out on practicing everything. But to these 2 aspects which I have highlighted just now, you may have to practice a bit extra to ensure that you are correct in all respects, and getting these marks is not going to be difficult for you in that case. So when you're given a pre-populated spreadsheet, first have a look at the nature of the spreadsheet given to you. Is it balance sheet? Is it profit or loss? Is it cash flow? And then it will have certain notes attached to that. So identify those notes, those adjustments. It could be adjustment related to business combination, which might have been wrongly identified and wrongly therefore reported. You may have to reverse everything. It may be related to a standalone transaction, like, for example, employee benefits. It could be there on share-based payments. So you first identify what those adjustments are, and for correction thereof, you create appropriate column headings. So for example, if you're wrongly treated a company as a subsidiary and now you want to remove that, you give the column the heading as, or the title as, removal of subsidiary, and then show which items you need to reverse. So show the adjustments in relevant columns against all the rows. For example, if you're given the balance sheet, the relevant rows could be non-current assets, goodwill, intangible assets. It could be related to inventory, trade receivables, current assets. One common mistake that has been identified, students tend to use the bracket sign for showing negative numbers. Don't do that. the spreadsheet formulae will not correctly work. So whenever you want to put a negative number, please make use of minus sign. And then, reflect the number in the respective row and column, respective cell in the spreadsheet. Many times the student asks this question, once the pre-formatted spreadsheet is given on one hand, do we need to set out different columns and in the end have a total or revised column to reflect the correct numbers? My dear participants, that's a wastage of time. The examiners have made it very clear you do not need to show total or revised column. Just leave it like that. Just leave it like that. But make sure that you don't just put the numbers. If you get the number wrong, you will not get any marks unless, of course, you support that number with a working note. And then link the working note result to the respective cell. Let me show you how you can do that. See, on the left-hand side, if you see, the draft balance sheet is given to you. There are items like non-current assets, property, plant and equipment, investment in associate, goodwill, there is a current asset, equity, liabilities, etc. And then this exhibit will also be followed by a certain number of adjustments. Now, one company in this particular case is wrongly identified as a subsidiary. So I have prepared one column here, remove subsidiary. What I need to remove, I must have, of course, included that company's assets in the group balance sheet. I need to remove that. So what I've done for removing, I have prepared note for PPE. I have taken the number that was given to me and then the changes therein and the revised amount of depreciation. So what is the net amount that I need to remove from the given draft financial statement? This cell, I will simply link it to this net result. And this is what I say, a working note is a must. Similarly, for goodwill calculation, I need to remove part of the goodwill that was related to this wrongly recognized subsidiary. So I prepare again a note for that, and the result or the outcome of that note, I link to this cell. This is so easy, my dear friends. It's not difficult at all. What you need to do is to set yourself a clean way of doing things. Look here, I do not have any total column here. But if I do all the adjustments correctly, I'll earn full marks for these numbers with supporting working. And even if you make a mistake in this supporting working, own figure rule will apply. You will lose only mark for step 1. That's it. That's it, right? So this question, 10 to 14 marks, remember, it's a huge number of marks if you consider that way. Please make sure you practice a lot. You may use ACCA's Study Hub practice questions. You may use a practice platform, which in fact will give you same examination environment for you to be able to add and do your working here, set up your columns correctly, and then look at the... one more thing, let me tell you. ACCA's suggested answers are the most ideal answers. Students are not expected within those limited number of hours that are available to come up with that level of articulation. What is required is obviously that you need to be linking it to the task that is asked and then present it appropriately for the examiner to identify what you have done and give you marks for that. So please remember. Now, one more thing that I would like to tell you is here I have just made 3-4 columns. So I was not wanting to show you, the working notes below the balance sheet extract over here. If possible, you could take all this and show it below the statement of financial position or whatever extract you are given. But if there are only 2-3 adjustments, you can show the adjustments, the working thereof on the right-hand side as well, so long as you are able to link the outcome of the adjustment to the relevant cell. I mean, examiners will know what you have worked, and you will get marks for that. So don't worry about that. So this is one question which, will help you a lot to get you good marks. Well, in the working, here, you may just show the numbers and the relevant items. Explanation part, if at all is required, you could put it in the in your Word document, and then link your Word document towards this particular worksheet. But most of the questions on pre-populated spreadsheets will require you only to make those adjustments. If your working notes are self-explanatory, there is no need for you to again make it too wordy to tell examiner what you have done. So the skill lies in how you show your workings. And for that, dear friends, what you require is practice, practice and practice. Okay? Right, then. How the questions in SBR look like. Now here I'm going to tell you something about the question verbs that the examiners will use. In FR they are different, in SBR they are different. So just look at one example here. This is typical OTQ from FR. Simple. What amount of transaction price would be allocated to this service contract? That's it, a calculation, simple. One calculation, put your answer either as a number entry requirement or as a multiple choice. You select the correct choice. You may get similar, scenario, but see how differently the question is set for SBR. The topic is same, the standard is same, but look at the way in which SBR question is different. Naturally, because only number calculation was involved, FR asked it only for 2 marks. Look at how it comes up when you talk about SBR examination. Now, this is going to be for 8 marks, very recent examination. You are supposed to use a context given to you, Exhibit 1 and IFRS 15. So that's what I said, underpinned knowledge. But that's not sufficient. You will have to make use of exhibit information. And then what you are supposed to do? Discuss. That is critical here for SBR. It's not calculate the amount, discuss how this allocation will be made. So similar scenario, but a totally different way. This question is open-ended. Why it is open-ended? Because you're supposed to discuss, you're supposed to show the calculations in terms of supporting your approach to the answers. So this is a small context provided. This is Exhibit 1. This is this question. And how do you plan your answer? I'll just show you how do you plan your answer. And that planning could be, for you to get maximum 8 marks. So first what you do is mention what relevant principles are from IFRS 15, not in 2 lengthy paragraphs. Very shortly tell. You will have to allocate the transaction price to different performance obligations based on standalone prices. That one sentence is more than sufficient for you to grab 2 marks. But then what follows is important, and that's where more number of marks you can get. Explain how the company would get inputs for allocation of this price. There are 3 elements to this transaction: a sale of a computer, a monitor, and printer. So based on information available to you, which is there in Exhibit 1, what will you pick up? You will need information about what the market is doing, what the competitor is doing, and what are the gross profit margins that may be given to you. Up to 4 marks you can get for logically explaining all this. And then you're supporting. If you don't support your answer with your working notes, you're going to lose these 2 marks. So 2 plus 4 plus 2, that's how I'll put it in my mind. I'll first identify there are 3 parts to this answer. One is stating the principles from IFRS 15. Then using Exhibit 1, I'll explain how the given information I am going to use, and then support my conclusion with the relevant calculations and tell examiner in exact numbers how the transaction price, total price, would be split separately for computer, monitor, and printer. So that's the way in which you could practice here on. And you still have about 3 to 4 weeks, my dear friends, for you to be able to ensure that you're going to get good number of marks in the upcoming SBR examination. So if you want to look at the commonly used verbs and what should the verbs mean to you? If the examiner just says explain, he requires you to state what is the fact and just elaborate. So how goodwill should have been calculated? If that is the question, state first. Goodwill in the consolidated financial statements is calculated like this. And then elaborate, okay, how do you take the consideration? How do you take the net asset value? How do you take the NCI value in different circumstances? What is done in this particular case? And then arrive at your conclusion. That is state and elaborate. Explain why. Why word is important here. So you will not just have to state and elaborate, but you will have to support it with relevant reasoning. Why? So the performance obligation in this particular case seems to be done over a period of, fulfilled over a period of time because 1, 2, 3, give those reasons. That's where you're going to get marks. If the examiner says explain with calculations, state, elaborate, as I said earlier, and as I illustrated to you earlier, give your supporting calculations. Discussion tantamounts to consideration of all the given facts to you and argue pros and cons, especially very, very handy when you tackle the question on ethics, sustainability, climate-related disclosures, etc., integrated reporting, or even the management commentary, etc. Very, very crucial. And if discussion is there with calculations, calculations are always going to be supportive to what you state in your answers. Sometimes, very, very rarely though, but please read every part of the requirement very carefully. I have been telling you that the answer just should not mention theory only. You're not going to get marks. But sometimes the examiner may want you to do only theoretical discussion by clearly stating in a note that there is no need to refer to any exhibit to answer a specific question. It's not a general note. It's only related to a specific requirements, which could be there from 2, 4, 6 marks. And I have taken this range of marks from the past exams, of course. So if there is a note like this, against a specific requirement, make sure that you may not have to support it with the exhibits. Then only the answer could be generic. Otherwise, no. Only theory is not going to give you marks at all. So please carefully look at the past exams and the practice exams. When you're especially taking the mock exams, make sure that you understand these verbs. What do they signify, and how you put and structure your answer for a specific verb that the examiner is using. How do you approach your upcoming SBR examination? Make sure, as I said, you've learned all the parts of the syllabus. Don't leave any stone unturned. You may use flashcards functionality on ACCA Study Hub to quickly recap. If at all you feel you have some weaknesses on certain topics, quickly make use of these flashcards. Technical articles. Students generally, find it really very lengthy, but at times look at the topic and then please go through technical articles, especially the illustrations that are given therein. And what's more crucial for you is topic explainer videos. It's a beautiful resource that ACCA has come up with. Using Study Hub practice platform, I always reiterate you take practice questions. Going through examiner report, knowing what are the weaknesses of the students, what are the strengths of the students, commonly observed weaknesses, please work on them. Make sure that you avoid when you are practicing. And do not forget to take mock exams. Mock exams is not to test how much you know only. It will also help you to improve your exam techniques and especially time management. Because most of these students have exhibited the fact that they take too long time to answer the question number 1, and therefore very little time is left with them for answering different questions, where they lose a lot of marks. Don't do that. So if you just want to recap what we have gone through today, first, understand the depth of SBR syllabus. I'm sure you would have worked through that. But before you start your revision now, please again ensure that you understand the depth, especially the verbs used in the study guide. Very crucial. You need to get comfortable with the exam structure, the various sections, the professional marks, etc. Answer verbs and the formats that you are supposed to look at. Then work out practice question. There is a blank workspace functionality on the practice platform. Make use of that as well. And then, this is not at all the least. Don't forget to take mocks. I think you should take 2 mock examinations. I'm sure the mocks are already available on the practice platform, or maybe in very short while it will be made available to you. So please take mocks. Make sure that you get it evaluated from your tutors, trainers, from your peers, maybe from your friends who have already cleared SBR, whichever resources you have, and then work on self-review as to how you could then, improve upon your mock examination answers. Don't feel tense because you couldn't match the ACCS suggested answers. They are too good, not expected from you within the limited time frame available in the examination. But please make sure that you answer all parts of the requirement to maximize your marks. So that was it from my side. Let me now try and answer as many questions as possible from your side. I think I have tried to cover as many as them while I was talking. But if there are specific Q&A, let me see if I can see any questions in the Q&A box. There is one question that I can see is from my knee. Can we put the working on the right side, like in this slide, instead of the bottom? Well, where you put it is not more important, but you must show it. If the number of columns is large, you can put it down. If it is hardly 2 or 3, you can put it on the right side. Professional marks, as I said, there are total 4 professional marks in this examination. 2 on the question of ethics, which are there for you to identify the ethical issue involved correctly and then answer it. If you do not identify it, you may get some marks for writing technically correct, but you are not going to get those 2 professional skill marks. So please remember that. Revision plan from today, of course, as I said, first make sure that you have covered the entire syllabus. Identify your areas of weakness, make use of flashcard, quickly revise your knowledge, underpin knowledge from afar. So maybe practice some 5-6 OTQs to just get a quick grasp of your technical knowledge, and then do a lot of practice. Specific resources or question types, you should focus on someone exam from, as I said, if you make use of practice platform, the questions on that, especially the past exam questions, yes, that will definitely go to help you. I have answered this part regarding where to put the notes. Typing mistakes, no marks will be impacted. This is not an English test, unless, of course, whatever you state will change the meaning completely. So instead of saying the company should be doing this, if you write the company shouldn't be doing this, then obviously the answer is technically not going to be correct. Is it possible that 4 weeks can cover the entire syllabus? I'm talking about the revision. I'm not talking about the preparation from scratch. So if you're not studied at all in the beginning, I doubt whether you will be able to complete the entire revision. Mock exams, yes. First, quickly do the revisions. Take 1 mock. Again, based on your mock performance, revise or recall, recalibrate your knowledge, weak knowledge areas, and then do it. It is not possible to do questions from exam kit and study hub as well. So where you could do it. Well, you may need not do all questions. You look at basically the variety of the topics that are covered. That's more crucial. So you make sure that at least a couple of questions on each standard you do, then that will be a correct approach, I would say. But definitely more practice is required on pre-populated worksheets and ethics. As I said, professional judgment and analysis in questions like explain, discuss. Technically, you may be right, but if you write 5 paragraphs only on technical explanation and you do not, exercise your judgment or do not carry out analysis using exhibit information, you are not going to get good marks. So that's why the weightage is higher. Days allocation for mark, well, for mocks, 2 mocks, so naturally, couple of days. As I said, there's nothing like, examinable topics. I have a list of examinable documents published by ACCA for June 2025 examination. Look at that, ensure that you complete everything. Yes, I strongly advise you, at least unit number 9, you take from EPSM.
Hi, Milind. I'm just jumping in as we've reached the end of today's session, but thank you so much. I know the questions were coming in fast there, and hopefully a lot of them have been covered in your presentation in the main part of the session. But I just wanted to remind everyone before we close that we do have an SBR in Focus webinar as well. That's taking place on the 15th of May at 1 o'clock. UK time. Make sure to register for that. The registration link is available in the resource section of this webinar. I do hope you found today's session really useful. A big thank you again to our tutor, Milland, who's been great. Do check out the important resources that have been added to the resource section of this webinar, and do refer to them during your exam preparation. Remember that everyone who's registered for this will be getting an email with details of how they can watch it again on demand. So thank you for everyone who's joined us today. Thank you, Milland, for your support, and also to the ACCA team who have been supporting in the back end to deliver this session and to try and answer as many of your questions as possible. We're wishing
Thank you very
all...
much, Isabel, and I wish everyone good luck.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best of luck, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.